What's going on, everyone? It's the Fantasy Football Almanac here, back at it with another fantasy football video. Today we are going to be talking about the 5 most interesting quarterback situations in fantasy football for Dynasty 2023 and beyond. But before we get into it, if you guys could go down and give this video a like. I'm answering every single comment. So you guys have any questions whatsoever about fantasy football, Dynasty, trades, anything, please let me know down below, and subscribe to the channel, to that notification bell on so you don't miss another video. With that though, guys, let's hop right into it with our first quarterback. And I think the most obvious, crazy situation, and he is the thumbnail, is Lamar Jackson. What the heck is going on with Lamar Jackson? I mean, by the day, it seems more and more likely that Lamar is not going to be a Raven in the near future. I mean, the Ravens come out and say that they would consider drafting a quarterback in the first round. They also come out and say that they offered Lamar $175 million guaranteed, but that deal is no longer on the table. This just means trouble for Lamar, in my opinion, because I think the Ravens tried offering him as much as he possibly could. The Ravens probably offered him the most out of any other team, because if a team offered him more, the Ravens would just match it, most likely, or Lamar wouldn't be a Raven. But Lamar is a unanimous MVP, the best rushing quarterback I've ever seen with my own two eyes, and has led the Ravens to a 45-16 record while he's been the quarterback. Well, I can see some arguments that Lamar could be a little bit overrated. I think he still is definitely, without a doubt, a top 10 quarterback, probably for me like 6 or 7, maybe 8. But Lamar is a very, very good quarterback, and if he goes to your team, he makes your team an immediate contender, which is exactly what you want from a quarterback. He's already a proven guy, and yes, you have to pay him a lot of guaranteed money. It is a huge risk considering he is a rushing quarterback, and rushing quarterbacks are way more likely to get injured, as we've seen with Lamar, somebody who has not played a full season since his MVP season. But I'm just surprised no GMs are trying to take a stab at Lamar Jackson. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think right now the Colts are the leading favorite, as far as I could tell. But I don't think it's anything close to a sure thing. That is for sure. But we'll see where exactly Lamar ends up going. We'll see if he becomes a Commander. We'll see if he becomes a Falcon. I honestly don't know. The door is as wide open as ever, and I'm shocked the situation has not resolved itself. Moving on, I want to talk about the Trey Lance, Brock Purdy situation, and I'll even throw Sam Darnold in the hat here. I mean, what the heck is going on with the Trey Lance Purdy situation? We see, for one, this in my opinion is a terrible sign for Lance, and I'm a Lance believer, but we see Trey Lance splitting first-team reps with Sam Darnold. That should not happen. Trey Lance should be getting 100% of the first-team reps. I don't get what you're thinking as a coaching staff, giving Sam Darnold 50% of the splits, unless you don't have faith in Trey Lance. And that, to me, is what really concerns me about Trey Lance. Not only that, we have Lynch call Brock Purdy the leader in the clubhouse, meaning he probably is going to start. I think realistically, if I were putting money on it today, and this is coming from the biggest Lance believer, I think Purdy's going to be the starting quarterback at this current moment. I know it's hard to say, especially because he's not going to even be able to throw a football for another 3 months or so. But once Brock Purdy is back, I mean, he was the dog in the clubhouse. I mean, I think at this point it seems fairly obvious that Brock Purdy is going to get the starting job. And I am the number one Trey Lance guy. I'm the Trey Lance hype train all day. I've been riding it for the past 2 years. I could see a scenario where Trey Lance gets traded. And I'm not sure for what, but I think it would be a mid-first round pick. I could see the Ravens going out and getting him. We have no idea. This is another one of the most interesting situations in the NFL, especially considering Trey Lance was the number 3 pick, and Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. I mean, somebody who went last overall in the draft, and he might take the job over Trey Lance. Just proves that, I mean, even the NFL messes it up sometimes, but the thing is, we don't really know what we have in Trey Lance. I mean, the 49ers don't know. The only game he played in last year was a monsoon. They've seen him in training camp, but overall, one of the most interesting situations in the NFL. We'll have to see what happens, but I honestly don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below about that, because realistically, I don't know. Trey Lance right now on Underdog Fantasy is going ahead of Brock Purdy, which I guess makes sense because Trey Lance could get traded and still be a starter for another team, and Trey Lance will definitely be relevant for fantasy football, even if he is a bad quarterback, as long as he's a starting quarterback, because his rushing upside is simply so high. We'll see. Again, let me know down below. I'm really curious to see what you guys think. And let me know down below on the Lamar situation too. These are easily the 2 most interesting situations, I think, in all of football right now. But let's move on to Deshaun Watson. I think the Deshaun Watson situation is also a really interesting situation. I mean, a terrible person, an awful person, but Deshaun Watson is such a good NFL quarterback. Whenever he's played a full season, he has been a top 5 fantasy quarterback. In fact, he's been the 5th best quarterback every single time he's played a full season at the NFL level, despite the fact that he's been on awful teams. I mean, the 2020 Texans team was terrible as a team. You trade away DeAndre Hopkins, which is never a good sign. You have Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller. I mean, at the time, Will Fuller was actually a pretty good wide receiver, in my opinion. But Will Fuller has never played a full season. And that season, of course, he didn't as well. He only played 9 games. But you do have Brandon Cooks there, which is pretty good. But Bill O'Brien is the head coach, the GM, making these terrible moves, picking up David Johnson, a 29-year-old running back at the time. I mean, what were we thinking here? And yet Deshaun Watson overcomes 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, leading the league in passing. Yes, he doesn't play 2021. Yes, his 2022 looked terrible, but that is rust. But the reason why his 2022 looked so bad is because he was not able to practice with the team whatsoever, not able to build chemistry with Amari Cooper, not able to build chemistry with Donovan Peoples-Jones, not able to work on the playbook with Kevin Stefanski. I mean, what is Deshaun Watson to do? You expect him to come in and immediately be the quarterback he was after not playing football, not playing an NFL game for 2 years? Me personally, I don't think so. Now he's got a full offseason with the team. Now they pick up Elijah Moore. I think this is going to be a lot better for Deshaun Watson. I think Deshaun Watson's one of the most undervalued players in all of fantasy football. In fact, I just went out last night and traded for him. So I think he's a really, really good player. Again, let me know what you think down below about this, because Deshaun Watson, a 27-year-old quarterback in his prime, and has proven to be a top 5 guy when he plays. And yet, he is going behind CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and Kyler Murray on keep trade cut. So this is somebody who's going below completely unproven rookies. And while I do like CJ Stroud, I do like Bryce Young, we just don't know with them. With Deshaun Watson, at least we've had 3 seasons of historic success. Maybe it's the age, but Deshaun Watson is exactly the same age as Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes is the number 1 quarterback on keep trade cut, the number 4 player overall in non-superflex leagues. So we'll see what happens with Deshaun Watson. Obviously, Pat Mahomes is better than Deshaun Watson, but you get the comparison I'm trying to make. I think Deshaun Watson could be the most undervalued quarterback in all of football. And if you think I'm wrong, I totally get it. But let's move on here to Russell Wilson, who is another one of the most interesting situations in all the NFL. I mean, first of all, he goes to the Broncos. Lots of people are expecting the Broncos to be a great team. I mean, a team that had a phenomenal defense going into this past season. You have Jerry Jeudy. You have Courtland Sutton. Yeah, the O-line's bad. Yeah, Nathaniel Hackett, we don't really know. He's not a proven head coach. But this was projected to be a good situation. A lot of people actually had them winning the division. Then, Russell Wilson goes out. Looks terrible his first couple games. Okay, it's Russell Wilson. He'll bounce back. He's a perennial top 5, top 10 quarterback in fantasy on any given season. It's Russell Wilson. He'll bounce back. Then he doesn't. Not only does he not bounce back, he looks terrible throughout the entire season. 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions for a guy who going into the season was a lock to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's not an age cliff. He's only 34 years old. And yet, Russell Wilson looked awful. There was no reason he looked that bad. It was absolutely inexcusable. Considering the amount of expectations, considering the team around him, I know Javonte Williams goes down, but you still have Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton for nearly the full season. They fire Nathaniel Hackett late into the season, and Russell Wilson starts to pick it up a little bit. He looks a little bit better, closing the season with 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in his last 2 games. Still not great, but there is a glimmer of hope. And I think that glimmer of hope will attract a lot of people going into this next season. I still think Russell Wilson's going to be a decently highly drafted quarterback. I mean, right now on Keep Trade Cut, he is the quarterback 23, which I actually think makes about sense. He's right in between Brock Purdy and Geno Smith. With Geno Smith potentially having the job locked up for the next 3 years, signing a 3-year, $105 million deal, I think it is a pretty interesting situation. But at the same time, Russell Wilson for the past 10 years has been a borderline top 5 quarterback. Maybe not initially, maybe not when he first came out. Legion of Boom, Russell Wilson might not have been a top 10 quarterback. But over the past 5 or so years, I mean, I remember there was a point when let Russ cook. Russ was the second best quarterback in all of football. Some people were even jacking him as the best quarterback in all of football. But now we just don't know. I mean, they do bring in Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton is a very interesting addition, especially considering Sean Payton is a very proven guy. I mean, the complete opposite of Nathaniel Hackett. And somebody who has proven that he's had a lot of success with a guy like Drew Brees. We'll see what happens with it. But also, I am pretty excited because they do bring in a couple of good O-linemen. They do bolster the O-line, which is awesome. They bring in Samaje Perine, who I think is an underrated running back in his own right. Javonte Williams is going to get healthy next year. I think this is going to be a sneaky good team. But let me know what you guys think down below, again, because I really don't know. Again, one of the most interesting situations in all of football. we'll see what happens. But now, moving on to the last situation, I want to talk Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers. I'll start with Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love is a pretty sneaky quarterback on Underdog Fantasy right now. I mean, he's coming off the board as the quarterback 21, behind a guy like Bryce Young, behind Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, and Russell Wilson as well. And realistically, I would prefer Jordan Love over all of these guys, considering Jordan Love has had 2 full years to develop behind Aaron Rodgers. And, well, yes, he's not going to be Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's almost 100% certain. I think he will be a worse quarterback than Aaron Rodgers, 2-time MVP in the last 3 seasons. I think Jordan Love could still be a pretty good quarterback. I mean, he's walking into a pretty interesting situation. We have Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. Not the greatest wide receiving core, but it's fine. It gets the job done. You have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, which is a good running back core, and a great O-line. I think this could be a pretty interesting situation for Jordan Love to step into, and we'll see. He's been a project. That's why he fell to late in the first round when the Packers decided to take him. But at the same time, Jordan Love could easily be a great quarterback. I mean, again, given 2 years to develop, I think that's a very, very promising sign. But honestly, I just don't know. I mean, he's about as unproven as a guy like Bryce Young, about as unproven as a guy like CJ Stroud. But at the same time, this is somebody with 3 years to develop. I think he's pretty underrated as a quarterback. And in Superflex leagues, I'd be trying to go out and get him depending on the price point that the Jordan Love manager's asking for. I think he's a pretty interesting guy. And I mean, at the end of the day, the Packers have done this before. They did it with Favre and Rodgers, and now they're doing it again. But now, for the guy Jordan Love is replacing, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers probably going to the Jets. I mean, I put it at 90% likelihood at this point. He's verbally committed to it about 3 weeks ago now, and nothing's happened because they haven't been able to strike iron on a deal. It makes sense. Aaron Rodgers pretty much gave the Packers every single ounce of leverage that he possibly could have, which was stupid. Now the Packers are probably going to bring in the Jets' first-round pick, which is nice for the Packers, nice for Jordan Love. Not as much so for Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers does get access to Garrett Wilson. Aaron Rodgers does get access to his old guy, Allen Lazard. I think this should be a pretty interesting situation. I think this does boost Garrett Wilson's overall ceiling. I think this does the same for Allen Lazard that it's always been, because Allen Lazard operates best as a wide receiver too. This helps out Breece Hall a ton because Breece Hall is such a good running back, and we've seen Aaron Rodgers support great running backs in years past. Look at Aaron Jones. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it from me. The 5 most interesting quarterback situations for Dynasty in the entire NFL. If you guys think I'm totally off based on a player, let's say you think Trey Lance is guaranteed to be the starter, let me know down below. Give this video a like as well. Would help me out a ton. Would help out the channel a ton. And subscribe to the channel would be the best way to help out. I love you guys all so much. And as always, have a good day, a good night, and a good life.